Kristen Day from Windham. Hi, everybody. Arguments to remove genderqueer from the high school library. According to IJJ, the materials should be reviewed as a whole, not on passages or portions pulled out of context. Yes, the whole content is what a student checking out the book sees, so every part of the content should be appropriate for a minor, and this is not. 2, it contains pornography. Though IJJ doesn't exclude pornography, though why? It used to be a given that porn would not be available to kids at school. We had National Geographic, but that's about it. In my challenge, I cited many examples in context that are pornography by definition. That include sexually explicit writing and images whose primary purpose is to cause sexual arousal, that contain lurid or sensational material, vivid description or explicit details that are meant to provoke or shock, and materials that are arousing or intended to arouse strong curiosity, interest, or reaction, especially by exaggerated or lurid details. Check, check, and check. 3, the FCC would censor or rate the language and images in genderqueer for the public. Can't be on TV, can't be printed in the paper, breaks community guidelines for social media, but our school librarian gives it a thumbs up for minors in school without parental consent or any record that they checked it out. Number 4, parental consent should be required for minors checking out the book. The author is a grown adult writing about their personal sex experiences and gender identity journey for a target audience of teens. If a staff member at school can't share their personal sex experience to a student in the library, why can this adult whisper it in the student's ear in the same room? Loopholes. 5, just because you can doesn't mean you should. It's our kids and ethics matter. Arguments for keeping the book that are not valid. 1, this book can save lives. 2, it's just providing books with a wide range of interests for students. 3, professional reviews support it. Professional reviews also don't support it. 4, it's a memoir, and content is expected to represent the author's experience. Okay, the memoir shouldn't be in school. Call it what you want. 5, this is book banning. It's not. Just go get it somewhere else. 6, removing this book is anti-LGBTQIA+. No, it's anti-porn content in school and anti-sexualization of minors in school. If the book was an adult heterosexual author talking about porn culture, using sex toys, and literally having sex in the book, that's also not okay for a school library. 7, it's just one book, what's the big deal? It's school, and this sets a new low standard, and it can go lower. We should all be holding this line. 8, reason for keeping the book that isn't valid. We didn't know, the librarian did it, and now it's just hard to remove. The district added a book known nationwide to be controversial without meaningful review process, any oversight, and without informed consent to parents, the community,
Thank you, Ms. Day.
or board members. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak?
And Clark, Windham. My tone's a little bit different on this letter because we're going to hear a lot of this important stuff tonight, and I'm grossed out by it, and I can hardly talk about it. So I took a little bit of a different approach. So let's just say it's May 1st in RSU14, May 1st, 2025, okay? RSU14 reports the highest SAT scores in the state. Since this is a warm and fuzzy event, the Windham one-sided Eagle News decided to give it some media attention. In a recent interview, the Liberal Eagle, because we've asked them to quote things before and they haven't. In a recent interview, the Liberal Eagle asked the school board, how did you achieve such great results? The board replied, it was a combined effort between the school board, administration, teachers, faculty, and staff. We decided it was time to depart from the social, sexual, equitable, and critical race-based theory propaganda experiment being pushed on us by the DOE, also known as Department of Erosion. We came to the conclusion that books talking about blowjobs and encouraging untrained staff to talk to minors about their sexuality behind the backs of parents was not for us anymore. Applauds the school board. Good stuff. We decided to get back to teaching academics, which is what our staff is trained and educated and certified to do. We made it our mission to teach academics in the most upbeat and encouraging yet challenging ways possible, and it worked. One aspect of our successful plan was we introduced a new curriculum in our business class focusing on self-motivation and the power of positive thinking. They read books such as Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And for the younger folks, the students, we offered an endless array of self-confidence books and inspirational exercises offered by Tony Robbins. Almost instantaneously, students were more upbeat and enthusiastic. They were no longer trying to figure out if they were a they, a them, a that, a cat, a boy, a girl, or something in between, or something in transition. Instead, students were thinking about what they could become. They began to focus on their future and collaborated with teachers on subjects that inspired them to achieve their dreams. After seeing the results, it was clear the only transitioning schools should be involved in are those that aspire students to a higher level of achievement and self-confidence through inspiration. We recommend this to other school districts. Making the decision to change course on February 15th, 2023, which is today, okay? Making that decision to change course on February 15th, 2023 was the best thing we ever did for our students, and we are proud to see our K-12 Windham Eagles soaring higher than ever. We hope that's where this goes.
Anyone else?
Speak. I'm just Cindy from Windham.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your name.
Cindy. from
Cindy,
Windham. Harris
thank you.
from Windham. I'm here to support the first two speakers 100%. Gender identity is no business of the school. Who you're attracted to, who you want to have sex with is no business of a public school. Stick to the curriculum. I started coming to these school board meetings because in the fall, when my daughter's junior year started, she came home and said, maybe I'll just turn gay or lesbian because they seem to have more rights than I do. That's where I drew the line. It does not need to be in a public school.
Who else would like to speak? Thank you. Oops.
Hi, my name's Knox Zajac. I'm 11 years old and I go to Windham Middle School. I'm a 6th grader. I was in the library and this book was on a stand. I'd like to read you a page. My back over my hips as I asked if we should take our clothes off. And he's saying yes before I finish my sentence. He's pulling off my t-shirt, laughing when I can't undo his shirt buttons. He's undoing my belt. I'm reaching into his bedside drawer for a condom. We're kissing. Again, we're rolling over. Obviously, you can see where this is going. I don't know if it's because we're feeling especially emotional or just tired, or these past couple of weeks have been too much. But this reminds me so much of the first time we had sex. We were both fucking terrified, and the whole thing was kind of terrible because we didn't know what we were doing. But it was good too, so good, because we were a mess of emotions, and we were scared and excited, and everything felt new. So this sort of feels like that. Nick touches me like he's scared that any minute. Now, this book was at my middle school, and it was on a stand. When I rented it out to show my dad it, the librarian asked if I wanted more and if I wanted a graphic novel version.
Oh, boy. So I'm that kid's
you're good.
father.
Okay, good. I was asking for you.
Yeah, I'll take another 3 minutes. So that's my son,
Okay.
11 years old, and went to his library and found that by the entry door of our library, this is the smut that he is finding, all right? I don't care whether it's gay, straight, bisexual, whatever the terms are for all this stuff, doesn't need to be at our school. Doesn't need to be at my 11-year-old's library. And then as far as genderqueer, I've got a son in the high school as well. And this is bullshit. We know it, all right? We do not need to be having literature that's showing boys how to suck dick, all right? I'm very, very frustrated about it, okay? And you may think that schools know the best for our children. You know who know the best for our children? The parents. And if you remember this, I was here last year talking about masks, and I even offered you proper usage for a mask, and you said I was bullying. And you know what I would like to say to everybody right now? Where are we a year later, and what has changed? why you don't wear your masks right now. So what has changed in the medical field that is showing you that you don't have to wear masks now? So like I said, listen to the parents. I can tell you right now, I don't work anymore, and I will be more than happy to focus my time and effort to the security of my child and children in this school, all right? I will be a thorn in your sides. So I just want you to be aware of what you've woken, okay? I'm sure that a lot of you guys are fine and great people and have nothing but the best intentions for our children. But by the fact that this has to take 4 months for a school to get this book out of the library is ridiculous. The parents are here right now and they're speaking, and you need to listen and do something about it quickly. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'll go.
Sure. If
This
you
is my
just-
first time.
I know. If you
speak
just
out.
let us know your name, please, and where
My
you
name is
live.
Matthew. I live in Windham. I know you all are entering into an executive session after this to speak to legal counsel about the issue. You'll probably cover all this. Supreme Court precedent in Pico versus Island Tree School District found in 1982 that a school board violated students' First Amendment rights by restricting access to specific social ideas and political perspectives when the school board voted to remove a list of books from the school library. Justice Brennan specifically designated the library as especially suited to the recognition of First Amendment rights as a place of voluntary inquiry. That means that the students can walk in and choose for themselves. It is not designated by curriculum. It is not designated by anyone. It's a matter of their own personal freedom and choice to determine what they want to read and learn about. Voluntary and free being the point. According to the current policy, IJJ, a parent already has the freedom to restrict access to materials for their own children. What is being sought is the power for this group to restrict access to all students and bypassing every other parent and student's right to the freedom to decide for themselves. It is important to understand in all this that there is a specific group of people and ideas being targeted here. It's not a secret. Transgender and non-binary kids and those who love them are the target. According to the Trevor Project, in 2021, more than 50% of trans and non-binary youth seriously considered suicide, and 1 in 5 actually attempted suicide. Acceptance by a variety of adults reduced the risk of suicide by between 32 and 43% among trans and non-binary youth. That means having a teacher or a parent or a peer who accepted them reduced the risk of suicide by 32 to 43%. Imagine knowing with your own children that there is a greater than 50% chance that they are currently contemplating suicide and a greater than 1 in 5 chance that they will actually attempt suicide. And just keep that knowledge in your heart for a moment and think about what it feels like. Now imagine that the way that you can drastically reduce that risk is by following the advice of every medical and psychological organization and just affirming, accepting, and loving them like any parent should their own kids. That's all that it takes. Now think, what type of message does it send to these children, to these students, to their families, when a school board will take the advice which targets them explicitly and remove representation of that group from their entire school life? What does it say that anything associated with their inner life must be behind a black curtain and is special access only? Does it send a message of affirmation? Does it send a message of support? Would you feel supported if your own life were hidden behind a black curtain?
Thank you, sir. Who else would like to speak? Okay.
I'm Danny Davis, resident of Windham. I just want to make it clear, me, and I think I speak for everybody in support of how I feel. We We love no one less because of who you identify with, of any of that. We're not targeting anybody. This has nothing to do with that. Nobody, I think you all agree, nobody feels that way. I have friends, I have family that are all of these things. I have transgender family. I have transgender friends. This has nothing to do with them. This has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the transparency and the parent involvement in our schools. Imagine knowing your child committed suicide because they didn't know that that was going on with them, because it was behind library doors and not brought up to the parents because of the transparency issue. Imagine knowing that.
Anyone else like to speak? Do I see any? Sure.
I think my name's Beth Hall. I've lived in Windham my entire life. I think everyone needs to pay attention to everyone's feelings. But this issue, the kids can find whatever they want, wherever they want, but my tax dollars don't need to be buying these kinds of books for our school. It's not acceptable to have these kinds of books in our schools. I can't imagine what this little boy went through when he first read this book, and kudos to him for bringing it to his father. That's who he should be bringing it to. What a mature young man. But he was able to deal with it, and get his thoughts and feelings out over it. I can't imagine the children that are reading these things and are so scared that they don't even know who to go to. I think Windham and Raymond, it would just be so wonderful if we could be the model district for letting other towns know exactly how we feel about this rubbish. And we are not targeting any specific group. Most of the children are not going to be mature enough to handle this stuff. They don't even need to be exposed to it. Not on our tax dollars. And this is taking away from their curriculum, and it's just not necessary. And I think Windham needs to be the model, so other towns will have the courage to do what we are going to do, and what we should be doing. And some of them aren't, and I think we need to be the ones to lead the path. And I encourage every one of you to really think hard about that.
Anyone else?
Maria Clark, I'm from Windham. I attended a meeting last week in the school library, the high school library. Before the meeting started, I was sitting at a table waiting for the others to come in. And I looked over my shoulder and I saw a display of books. And I think the title of the poster above it was "Love is in the Air for Some." February, Love is in the Air. So I walked up to it and I looked, and out of the 20 books that were on the display, a third, 6 of them, just about a third of them, were books that dealt with gay relationships, gay love, gay sex. I was just bowled over. I couldn't believe it. There's got to be a way to encourage kids other than putting these books front and center. I mean, this young man found that book in the junior high. I'd like to know what's in the elementary school myself. There's a group called Out Maine. I don't know if you've heard of it, up on the coast. It provides chest binders, among other things, to female students and works closely with the Department of Education to get donations to buy books like Genderqueer to be placed in libraries all around the state of Maine. We're talking about a school library. We're talking about kids that are minors that can get these books. We're not talking about banning them. We just want them removed and placed in a place where if a child needs them, can get access through a counselor. But there again, up on the coast, a social worker counselor was helping to transition a young lady and the parents were not aware of it. So, between a rock and a hard place, I feel that the book needs to be removed from the library, Genderqueer. The other books, I didn't take them and look through them. If they're anything like what Knox found, I'm sure that they probably are. There again, I wouldn't want my grandson or grandsons looking at those. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Can I speak again on a different subject?
No, I'm sorry.
Different subject?
No, I'm sorry. Anyone else?
Can I ask a formality? This is on the agenda later, right? So we have another opportunity to speak when it's brought up.
This is the only public participation for this meeting.
But the library-
Does anyone else want their 3 minutes of time? I will say this, that our next meeting is March 1st. And again, it's our regular meeting, at which time we will have another public comment session. And you are welcome to join us then. I'm going to close public input.